Look at that. 21 seconds for y'all this morning. I wanted to make this video on powerlifting and how it saved me from minimalistic training. Powerlifting often gets the reputation as the minimalist's way of training and being rather inefficient, for being functional, bro. Whatever that means. I assure you, I'll just briefly speak on the functionality. I always hear this, oh, what if you had to climb this or run from a bear or, insert any of these crazy real life situations that border on fantasy and the chances of happening are next to zero.
To me, a functional exercise is a squat or a deadlift or a press. That's functional because it improves the function of the organism. I'd have a hard time trying to explain to you why an ipsilateral movement with an 8-pound chrome dumbbell on an unstable surface would improve the function of the organism, unless the function of the organism is to produce a unilateral ipsilateral movement on a unstable surface. I know of no circumstances under which humans do that except in functional training studios.
What the fuck? Why am I going to train for that? What I do in real life every day, almost always I have to pick something up and put it down. Almost always, every day. That's what powerlifting is. Picking things up and putting them down. So I would pose that powerlifting is extremely functional, even more so than the functional training for those weird scenarios. Anyway, tangent gone there. It saved me from I was a bench bro. I trained bench press only for a few years before powerlifting. This was before social media. I bought a bench one year with my income tax return, one of those $300 bench weight set combos with 300 pounds of weights from Sears. If you're under 20 years old, Google Sears and look that up. But that's what I got. And, people just, random bro conversations were, how much do you bench? How much do you bench? So I just wanted to bench a lot, and me and my roommate would bench press 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, just going heavy to failure, maxing out every week, sometimes twice a week, and that's what we did. And we played basketball when we were done. Of course, there was a lot of food consumed. We smoked cigarettes at the time. We drank a lot. It was what it was. But that's all my lifting training was bench press, maybe some curls here and there. Anyway, fast forward a few years, I moved. That was in Florida. I moved to Tennessee. And my OG videos were in an office here where I work. It was an empty office at the time, and I had my bench back there, and I just fucking decided to upload YouTube videos. I'd watched YouTube videos before, and I was like, hey, I'm pretty good at bench pressing. Why don't I put some stuff up there? And I think my first upload was like 405 by 3. So, I was already a pretty advanced bencher by the time I was doing that. Anyway, somebody, I had a few people say, you're really good at benching, you should check out powerlifting. And I had never heard of powerlifting at the time, so I looked into that. I had a friend on Facebook through some of these powerlifting groups and stuff that I started joining that told me he was competing at this place in Virginia, which is like 4 hours away. And it was a single lift competition. It was bench press, deadlift, and strict curl, which was great because, I signed up for it, and by the time it came around, I was still benching more than I could squat. I was benching in the 400s before I ever did my first squat. I had started training squats at the time and deadlifts and stuff, but yeah, so I went and did that push-pull, but as far as it getting me out of minimalism, that was, you think powerlifting is minimalism, just benching is, specializing even more minimalist than minimalism. And powerlifting isn't as minimalistic as it's made out to be. Once you get into the meat and potatoes of it, the goals are minimalistic. Your goals is to have a big squat, a big bench, and a big deadlift. That's it. That is the goals of powerlifting. There's no physique related goals. There's no, other goals. It's your total. It's the total of your 3 lifts. So absolutely minimalistic goals. However, when you get into it and get to training for those goals, you will learn that while specificity is the most important thing, you can't just train uber sport specific for powerlifting. Like, you can't just, I'm just going to do heavy single squats, heavy single benches, and heavy single deadlifts, and that's all. You could try that, and you will make progress initially, but you are going to burn out in a hurry. And even if you managed it in the most extremely smart way, eventually that gains train is going to slow way down, and it is not going to be an efficient or effective way to train anymore. And you learn that, at first maybe you start with moving your bench grip in, or you start pausing your squats instead of just doing them regular. You train the opposite stance of whatever your competition deadlift is, and these things start, and then you start trying other variations, and maybe you find front squats translate well to your deadlifts, and you put that in there, and different rep schemes. Maybe you were training mostly heavy, but now you think, maybe I should do a training block where it's really light, and even you haven't changed the variations yet, but you've changed, the sets and reps and volume, and there's all these little buttons and dials that you have to twist and turn, and different variations you use, and now, I'm putting in some list cardio.
Do some cardio, bro.
Or it's off season, I'm going to do some, more GPP, and there's thousands upon thousands of ways to get that total, get those big 3 lifts up. It is very not minimalist when you get into it. The goal is minimalist, not the training. That's the main takeaway I want to give you guys from here. Again, if having the best physique possible, or the most aesthetic physique, or being the most jacked possible is your goal, then that's not going to necessarily coincide with having the biggest total possible. There's a lot of crossover in there. All right, a lot of crossover and being as jacked as possible and having the biggest total possible. So let's not mistake that. Let's not say that they are antithesis of each other. There's a whole lot of intertwining. But you're gonna, if one is your goal or the other is your goal, that intertwining, there's gonna be, other areas outside of there that aren't going to be as intertwined. So you'll have to give up some of the jackedness for that big total, and you'll have to give up some of the chasing the big total if you want to be as jacked as possible. Again, we're getting into diverging paths a little bit and splitting hairs somewhat, because again, I want to make this clear that there is so much crossover between the two, that if getting as jacked as possible is your goal, you can do powerlifting movements within that goal and maintain that goal. All right, and if your goal is getting the biggest total as possible, well, you're going to want to have big muscles, because big muscles equals strong total. They're just, maybe some of the show muscles aren't necessarily going to be as big as some of the go muscles, if that makes any sense to you guys. So I want that to be the take home, that, powerlifting, the goal is minimalist. The training is not necessarily minimalist, and in many cases, it's the opposite of minimalism. Yeah, that's I done lost my train of thought there. minimalistic goals, but not minimalistic trading. So let's not get those things confused. Peace.